We have a YZ250 here. Decoded the neck, looks like this is a 2001, and it hasn't run in 9 years. Previous owner had dismantled it, and he said it was for cleaning. I don't know if he's going to touch up some of these spots here or what. It's this far down, I'm going to get a couple of the really bad spots, and I got a factory match here. Looks like it's 98 to 2006. You can see he's got the curb off there. This boot is all dry rot. You can see right through there. So I got one of these in order. It was like 10 bucks off eBay. I'd kind of like to actually wash it, but since the carb's off, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to do a wipe down on it. Let me get this chain off here too, get that all cleaned up, get the sprockets cleaned up, and re-lube all that. I think he was racing a track with jumps and stuff, but we'll just bomb this around in the field. It's got like brand new tires on it. There's a ton of plastics with this bike. Couple sets worth. Couple sets of exhaust. Sprockets look like they're in pretty good shape. Same with the chain. Yeah, trying to excuse the mess in the shop here. We got this other bike all ripped apart. Getting ready to make it back to a roller real quick here. That touch-up paint's looking pretty good. I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this. I want to ride it next weekend. I don't know, when that dries, I think it's going to be a pretty good match. Pretty pleased with this paint. So it's wiped down. It's all the better it's going to get for my cleanliness. I'm going to crack the bleeder, see if brake fluid drips out of there. We want to get this all changed out. It takes a DOT4 according to the cap. Just keep working until we get all that old fluid out of there. That's what she's looking like now. I'm going to start putting some of these plastics back on. I think this deal is supposed to protect this radiator. Probably go like that, I'm thinking. I'm going to put the worst ones on it, and I think they were probably the ones that were on it. There's some stress marks on it and stuff. In case I wipe it out, just completely finish those off. This piece is actually a guide. This thing slides up and down inside of it. I completely wiped it down with a degreaser, and it's like the dirt reappeared after the stuff evaporated. We got our new manifold. I'm going to take the bowl off this carb and see how she looks. I just pulled it off and it's clean as a whistle in there. Looks like she has a choke on it. A couple electrical gizmos too. The previous owner said one of them was a fuel enriching circuit. Looks like this bike has a computer on it. He's also telling me it has a rev limiter on it, which is cool. Alright, that's working. We got the rag out of there, so we can roll it over now. Feels like it's got compression, eh?
Yeah.
It came with 2 sets of reed valves. I believe he said he was using the one on the left. It's a little bigger. I don't know if this other one's for 125 maybe. They must have had a parts bike at some point for this. The housing looks like it has a rubber seal on the back. And then this thing will seal to the face of it. Here's the air box. I'm gonna wipe this thing off as best I can. Looks like there's a drain hole in the bottom of this air box, so water can escape. Says it's pre-oiled. Disposable gloves included. Had to take this bracket back off, but got the air box on. Putting the brakes on the bike here. And this is a threaded hole for that arm. Shit. It'll come out of there. Yeah, we'll clean this up and lubricate this baby. I just put some grease on there. It turns in there pretty freely now.
Yeah.
She's working like a champ. So these are the slides for the caliper, and this one, probably tough to tell, but it's bent. This one's kind of corroded hardcore, so I'll probably order a couple of these in the near future. We just put the chain back on her. Had to replace the master link. I don't know what the deal with that thing is. Didn't want to really go together. We're noting how far back this adjustment is. This chain doesn't really appear to be wore out. Getting ready to set up my new gas can here for my two-stroke mix. These gas cans have this fancy thing though. And the best thing to do with this is go like that. I got one of these replacement spout and vent kits. Here's the vent. I'm just going to punch a hole in the back of this thing somewhere, like right there maybe. This thing came with a course and looks like a fine thread. Here's a proper gas can in my opinion. This oil here says to mix at a 50-to-1 ratio. AMS oil. I was looking for the 100-to-1 stuff, but didn't really see it. So I just got this. I believe this is for two-stroke bikes like this. Proper ratio, I got this ratio right thing. So for instance, 1 gallon of gas, say I'm doing it 50-to-1, there's a mark. So you're doing 2 gallons, there's a 50-to-1 mark. Or whatever ratio you want. Kind of a nifty little deal here. I think the previous owner said he was mixing at 32-to-1, but he did have a bearing failure, and actually I helped him fix that like 10 years ago or something. I think I'm gonna follow the directions on the bottle. Put this exhaust on. Found out that that nut right there is stripped. Had to grind it over the die grinder. Hacked her up in a couple spots. We're gonna take a link out of this chain because this chain's pretty darn tight yet. You got this fancy tool over here. I think you've seen it once before in the Harley project. A master link out there, but we just took one link out. Gained about an inch on that adjustment. Like I said, this chain's tight, so I think we're good. Won't fly off. We got that chain adjusted up. Brakes together, bled out. It's 10 o'clock at night. We got good enough together to ride, actually, I think. We're gonna dump some fuel in it and see if any neighbors come out and yell at us. Oh shit, it's leaking, dude. Besides this line leak, we think we got a stuck flow, but we're gonna try to start this anyway real quick, see what happens.
You know, we blew everything out, wiped the, you know, the needle has a little Viton tip, and blew out that surface. Maybe some just speck of dirt might have been holding it so it couldn't close, and gas was coming out of the overflow vent, which is right here. So what's happening right now is instead of putting the whole carb on and finding out that it leaks, we're just pretending that it's on the bike right now and bench testing it. And I got the petcock wide open and we're not getting any fuel gushing out. I could tilt it.
We're gonna start it up, warm it up, and change out the gear case oil. It says it's good for clutches. This isn't like thick oil, you know, 80 weight. It's thinner. It's supposed to be the equivalent of like Yamaha lube 1030 or 40 or something. You know, I don't know what this oil looks like when they put it in, but we're gonna put some new stuff in there.
So this is good. You know, the thing's been sitting for years. Changing the fluids is always a good idea. Antifreeze that just sits. We already did the brake fluid. We're gonna put this in here. Didn't shift bad. But a lot of times when you just change fluid, like on my Harley, I went synthetic, and it's just like you're shifting a hot knife through butter.
So 750 cubic centimeters. I think that's the same as 750 milliliters, isn't it?
I don't know.
And we're gonna measure it and put it in there. So my new cup here I showed before has an increment for that. I was reading the forums and some guys are putting type F ATF in here, some guys are putting motor oil in there. I don't know, I think something like this is probably the best thing.
Yeah, what's really bad when you have an engine that's got the transmission and the motor together, you're getting clutch material running through the motor like on a Sportster. It's a, you know, the same oil that's lubricating the engine is lubricating the clutch. And there's a lot of different bikes that'll have a separate transmission from the engine, then you don't get that clutch material mixing in with your engine oil. So we put the plastics back on here. And I think you gotta have these on here to direct the airflow into the radiator. I'm sure the engineers figured this all out. Because it's water cooled, you gotta have it running good. And these are the plastics that are the used and abused ones, because we figure it's gonna be going over a couple times. So there's better stuff that will be, you know, if you were gonna sell it, put the good plastics on there. But these things always get wiped out, and why wreck the good stuff? I think it looks cool. You know, to get a motorcycle and the trailer, it's fantastic. We're going up north, so we're gonna make sure the bearings are greased, and we're gonna rewire it. So we got my brother who used to ride these things a lot more often than I did, and he's gonna try doing a wheelie with it.
See what I'm talking about? It's just slippery.
So this thing has so much power that it's just spinning on the grass. My younger brother to drive it, and he used to ride dirt bikes all the time. So he was talking about how it just is so pipey that it just patches out on the grass, and we didn't have enough real good area to get traction. You can tell.
I took it for a spin and I did some wheelies with it. It's kind of scary after 30 years and trying to do the stuff again, but I figured I'd give it a shot so he could see how the bike, but it runs tops. You know, he's did a good job putting it back together, and the bike seems to run perfect. You know, I didn't get it in too many gears because we didn't have enough room, but between first and second gear, you kill yourself real easy. But it was a fun time.